Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome along to round 10 of the 2016 GPVWC Super Cup season. We apologize for the slight delay to the broadcast, but we've had to scrummage together an entirely different team today. And I'm going to say a big thank you and introduce them. On cameras today, we have Mr. Rob Mason, and you will notice in terms of the broadcast, we don't have our usual overlays. We're basically making do at the moment. A big thank you to Rob for coming along and helping us out here. And alongside me, unfortunately, Mr. Sam Jones has a case of man flu, and the man who replaces him, well, I could try and say his name, but I'm probably going to mess it up. We'll give it a go anyway. It's Mr. Kacper Koloziejczyk. You might have heard him on the Super League. Fairly close. Almost got it on first try. Kacper, you've been with us on one Super League bus so far, launched into the fray in Super Cup now. And we've just borne witness to, unfortunately, that we've missed it, actually, possibly one of the closest qualifying sessions we've seen in Super Cup history. The top 7 qualifying within 0.2 of each other. The top 22 covered by only a second. And at the end of the day, we had a brand new pole position man as well in the right Tulicus. So overall, it was a great thing to see. We got back at the grids to go through a couple of penalties as well. But, well, welcome back to Hockenheim indeed. I'm very pleased that we're back here.
Yeah, it's definitely a very interesting kind of situation. We're going to seemingly have an absolutely one of the closest races you'll probably ever see in this kind of a series. And the qualifying was amazingly close. The all was only taken by a couple of thousandths of a second, and this is just shaping up to be a very good couple of races.
If you are new to the Super Cup, by the way, we should mention that those couple of races are varied. Our first race, 38 laps. It's a feature race with one pit stop, usually, barring any bits falling off your car, of course. And for our second race, we have a sprint format of 22 laps for today. We also have a reverse grid of a random number generated between 6 and 10 that corresponds to the finishing positions of race 1. Always throws up plenty of excitement, so do stay tuned. Quite a big race as well in terms of personnel switching around. So for a thing, it's my last Super Cup broadcast, I believe, of the year. Anyway, and see on that one. Also, more importantly for the championship, Kacper, it's going to be Risto Capit's final evening in the Super Cup. And Risto Capit's been the leader of Street Fighter in what has been by far and away their best campaign, partnering David Frančić. But it seems like they're going to have a bit of a more difficult time here today. Both of them qualifying and will be starting in the lower reaches of the top 10. I mean, we usually see Kacper and Frančić up in maybe, if not pole position, in around the top 5. So for these faster guys who find themselves a bit lower down than usual, especially at a turn one like Hockenheim, what are going to be the key things running through their heads?
I think honestly they're gonna be trying to just in as many positions, just make sure they don't mess up their strategy for the feature race. Just make sure not to do any mistakes, and well, all they can do is just try to do their best. They seemingly have a slight lack of pace, but then again, all they lost was 0.2 of a second, and they were very close to each other. So we're just going to have to wait and see.
For sure. So we're just waiting to head on through to race 1. In fact, I think we're having a server restart, actually.
That is...
We are indeed having a server restart. So we're actually going to be waiting a little bit longer than was to be expected. And I think actually we might just take this time then to run through the drivers and team standings since we have a chance. And no pop-up stuff for today, but we can ignore that for now. So Lars Brugman, who incidentally actually qualified second, so he'll be going directly up against Tulicas. He's on 347 points, and he is almost 100 clear now of Risto Capit. So Risto Capit, the nearest challenger, almost 100 points adrift, leaving the championship after this round. It's looking better and better for the Dutchman as the race as the year goes on. Only 5 points behind Capit, however, is Sven de Vries. He's had a couple of really good races recently, starting off with a first in race 2 at Silverstone. He's then gone on to a 5th and a 1st in Austria as well. So he's looking for his 3rd race win in 3 consecutive events. Niels Brugman then lines up in P4, almost another 100 points back from De Vries. So you can see just how far ahead of the rest of the pack Brugman is starting to stretch here, Lars, that is. And rounding out the top 5, David Frančić. And he's had a real couple of wobbly rounds, actually. A DNF 15th, 12th, and a 10th over the last couple of rounds. And he's starting P10 today he'll be hoping for better results than what he's been seeing recently. And just to go over the top 5 in the Teams Championship, it's all looking very good for Team Proline. 100 points clear of Street Fighter Racing Systems. So that's 501 points to 397 points. A further 100 points back then in Satellite Racing on 282. And they're starting to look over their backs now, as only 50 points behind them are Simtech Enterprise GP on 232. They've been stringing together some good results recently. And rounding out the top 5 then, a further 50 points back from Enterprise are Multiforce GP, who have recently overtaken GoSport International. Actually, they're only 3 points ahead of them. And then only 9 points behind GoSport, I should say, are Mazurek, who themselves have been having some very good results with Pauline and Hoekstra. So in the Teams Championship, things are closing up very, very nicely. But for Lars Brugman, Kacper, the championship could not be going any better than it already could. He's only not taken a win at Spain this year. Such has been his dominance. And I mean, on the front row of the grid, I don't mean to put any disrespect in the way of Right Tulikas here, but you'd put your money on us to take yet another win this season.
I think it's quite clear that he will be definitely contesting to do so again. And even in Spain, all his worst result, his not having a win is having a second place still. So he has scored podiums in every single round of the season. Well, every single every single round. Yeah. So. It looks very likely for him to either be first or second in this race as well, if he can keep it together this or next race.
Okay. Right, welcome back. Unfortunately, no time to go through the grid. If you do want to see the grid, then I'd highly recommend you go on to raceview.nl. You'll see the GPVWC server up there. You can have a look at all the live stats and everything through there. Kacper, the top 4, Tulikas, Lars Brugman, Sven de Vries, Adrian Holm. Do you think it's going to be any of those 4 taking the win today, or might we have to look a little further back?
My opinion is that Sven de Vries is actually going to take it. From what I've seen in qualifying, he was just very consistently doing very quick lap times. So I'm just really seeing him being one of the fastest here at the moment.
Interesting. I'm personally going to go for Lars. I'm going to go for the safe option. If I was a betting man, of course. It might be right, though. It might be Adrian. It might be someone else. We have 4 and we have 5 lights. And here at the Hockenheim Ring, we are racing. Has Right Tulikas got a good start? He has got a good start. In fact, that's probably one of his best starts of the year. And he leads into turn 1. Sven de Vries going massively wide.
Actually,
over the anti-cuts. And
Brugman losing 2 places.
Yes, he has actually. He had to go on the inside, didn't he? And he had to go over the curb. And that means that Adrian Holm there has jumped both de Vries and Brugman in that opening exchange. Risto Capit up to P5. He's had a great start. Let's have a look. Niels Brugman up to 7th. Scott Berison up to 10th. Klon staying around in 11th. As Adrian Holm there is now under he's not under a lot of pressure.
Holm's
in fact, he's challenging for the lead. And into the hairpin we go then. Adrian Holm from 4th, or was it 3rd? Sorry. I think it was 4th. Sorry. 4th to 1st.
4th, yes.
Within 6 corners. This is a great start from the Sweden. Sven de Vries there holding off Lars Brugman in the background. Is looking very good for the top 4 then as they start to stream away from the field behind them. And Adrian Holm losing a little bit of time there on the exit of Mercedes and heading up now to Mobile 1. Right Tulikas is not letting this one go. He led into turn 1. I'm sure he'd like to lead a lap, that's for sure. But as we head into the Sarks curve, we now see Sven de Vries and Lars Brugman closing up again. It's looking more and more frivolous for the Estonian, but it's looking better and better for Adrian Holm. We round turn 15. we round the Sud curve, and at the end of lap 1 then, it's Holm who leads from Tulikas de Vries, Lars Brugman, Capit, Hoekstra, Niels Brugman, Paulini, Wilson, and Beresford.
De Vries is actually catching up to Tulikas quite a bit, and I think he's going to be trying to challenge for second place very quickly. Holm is just running away from Tulikas at the moment, so it's actually quite close stuff, and there seems to be a little bit of a train still behind Tulikas, actually, so we're just going to have to wait and see what's going to happen now. But it's obviously early days, just first lap gone. But remember, I think De Vries is actually challenging Tulikas right now into the hairpin.
Yep, and that's a very late move. Tulikas really didn't defend that, did he? And it might allow Lars Brugman through as well. He gets enough exit to allow himself a bit of breathing space there, but Sven De Vries then is through into P2, and Tulikas starts to drop.
Disappears.
Oh, what happened to De Vries? Yeah. Oh dear, is that a disconnection for Sven De Vries? Oh no, he's back. Okay. Oh, that was a bit of a lag spike. I'm sure he would have been as scared as everyone else around him. Sven De Vries remains in P2 then. Tulikas down to P3, but these top 4 starting to string away from Risto Capit, who's up to P5 now, but he hasn't really let the likes of Wopke Hoekstra and Niels Brugman behind him loose. I'm just going to have a little look to see if anybody was in major trouble. I don't think anyone was, to be very honest. I think everybody got through turn 1. Okay, maybe Lewis McGlade, the major loser out of there, down to P21. But Adrian Holm, his lead was 1.1 seconds, but at the end of lap 2 here, we're on lap 3 now, by the way, so DRS is in effect. It's down the back straight, or the back kinked straight, I should say, and I believe the home straight as well. Don't quote me on that. But Sven De Vries is actually caught up by 9/10 of a second, now 7/10 of a second between the two. The American is on a real charge.
This is looking very strong. It was 5 or 6/10 of a second in just one sector, in the last sector, last lap, so that's quite a challenge. And 1/10 of a second again in the first sector alone. So this
behind them here. Look, Wopke Hoekstra's going around the outside of Risto Capit at the hairpin. All contact between the two on exit. And now Hoekstra, look at the exit that Hoekstra's got on the outside here. Going up through turn 7, around the outside of turn 7. It's balls to the wall stuff here between the Dutchman and the Estonian into Mercedes corner, turn 8. Wopke Hoekstra has just pulled off a marvellous overtake on Risto Capit. That was real good persistence.
That was amazing, and just great on the acceleration he had. It was amazing that he could pull something like this off. And now Brugman is actually trying to attack Capit. Niels Brugman, of course.
And oh yeah, Holmes had an off. Oh yes, look at that. Holmes had a massive off. He's down there in P3 now. What on earth happened to constitute that? Oh, it was out of Sachs' corner there. He got a little wiggle on, and so he's allowed De Vries through to P1 and Tulikas down or up to P2, although he's gone massively off at turn 1 there, Tulikas. But a mistake from Holman. We've seen this. This is a trait which is, it's a nasty little habit which is into his driving. He just makes little mistakes in these high positions, and it means that he loses positions that perhaps he didn't deserve to lose. Either way, De Vries inherits the lead of the race, and like you say, Kacper, is looking better for him by the lap.
Yeah, and at the moment, it seems like my prediction wasn't too far out of left field now.
Yeah. I mean, it's only lap 4 out of 38, of course. There is still long way to go. But certainly for now, everything is looking good. It's not looking good for Tulikas, though, who is now under pressure from Adrian Holm once again into Mercedes' corner. Tulikas putting up a bit more of a fight around this second sector. He knows how much time you can lose around it. And into turn 10 there, heading up to Mobile 1. He's looking like he's under a lot of pressure. He had pulled away from Lars Brugman by quite a margin, actually. But now the Dutchman is starting to reel in Holm himself, and he could provide a bit of respite here for Right Tulikas as he attempts to try and solidify that second position. All the meanwhile, Sven De Vries just pulling away, enjoying the free air ahead of him.
Yes, and from what I'm seeing, a bit behind them as well, there was a bit of a fight going for 11th, although they have now actually separated by a bit. But there seems to just be everyone running close, and if back further in the field, there are a lot of people literally just nose to tail.
Yeah, I was noticing, and I will cover some of the other field when we get a chance to, but these podium positions are up to anyone's grab. And here we go, DRS in full effect. Here comes Adrian Holm on Right Tulikas. You can see the power of the DRS now. Tulikas goes to the inside. He has to allow Holm the space. Tulikas goes to the inside again to try and get the cutback. Not going to work. Holm retakes 2 then, and Tulikas holds on to P3. but I'm looking at that train behind him, the likes of Hoekstra, Capit, Niels Brugman, and I'm thinking that they're starting to catch up to this little gaggle of geese as well.
Possibly. And at the moment, from what I'm seeing, that battling that's happening behind him is helping Sven de Vries. He's just 2 seconds in front of Adrian Holm already, and that little battle that they had did not help the times. Although it seems like Adrian Holm is now quite significantly closing in.
He seems to be dragging Tulicus and everyone else with him, though. I love Hockenheim. I'm so pleased that it's back on the calendar, that's for sure. Plenty of battles going on throughout. We should definitely cover some of the other guys, though. So Dino Paolini currently holding on in P8 with James Wilson. Davey Ton's here for Karjala. He's full-time replacement for Ari Nieminen, doing very nicely up in P9, and I noticed there's been an overtake going on just outside the top 10 here, or just inside now, I should say. David Francic has gotten past Scott Beresford for P10 there, so Beresford down to P11. Klont is currently P12 as, Niels Brugman's out!
Niels Brugman
is out, and what happened there? He was inside the top 10, he just got it all wrong at turn 1, and the backside of his car went into the wall at high speed, and no wonder he's retired. That rear suspension and engine would have been destroyed. So Beresford actually back up into the top 10 because of that then. Menno Klont P11, Edgar Ruiz P12, although those three are still battling.
We've got Lars and... We've got Lars for Rate. We just had them side by side.
Yep, and he's just gone through. Never mind me. It's action everywhere, Kacper. I can't keep an eye on it. But Lars is onto the podium then. That's the main thing we should take from this. And right too, Lucas, he can't even have a moment's rest because there's Wopke Hoekstra and Risto Capit ready to pick up the pieces if he makes another mistake.
Yeah, I mean, just a single mistake here could just lose you about 5-6 places easily, just because everyone's so close still.
So let's have a look then. Just to quickly round out the final point scorers then. Oyala 14th, Quint 15th. So that's your point scorers for now. The only retirements from this race, Tobias Olsen on lap 3 with suspension damage. Niels Brugman, I should say, with that accident at turn 1. And is there a lot of cars going into turn 1? Yes, it is. My word.
Yes,
that is a big load of train, isn't it? It's all starting off with Lars Brugman. There's Risto Capit on the inside of Hoekstra. Hoekstra covers off the line into turn 2, though. Not going to be anything there. And now Dino Paolini's on the back of this as well. How much DRS action are we going to see cancelled out down this straight? The answer
Adrian
is
Holm
not
going
a lot.
Side by side to Rate.
Actually, yeah. How did Adrian Holm lose that position? How did he lose second? Either way, Lars is into second now. Completely missed that. Down to the hairpin we go. Both cars getting DRS. Tulicus on the inside, Holm on the outside, and Holm has to go off the track. And that could be crucial here as Wopke Hoekstra pounces. And Wopke Hoekstra now through to P4. Another little mistake for Adrian Holm, and it's cost him P4.
This is impossible for one person to follow.
So glad I've got you.
Yeah, it's seems like at the moment the DRS is extremely strong, so having a second over anyone is actually such a massive advantage. But with all that's happening still, Sven de Vries is just happily running away in the front in the clean air, and he's 4 seconds in front of Lars Brugman.
He's doing mightily well, isn't he? And I think you are absolutely right. He shows that pace and he shows that consistency, like we were talking pre-show, of course. And really putting it into good effect. We'll see whether Lars Brugman, now in seconds, can start to pull away from Wright and maybe pull in that gap a bit more. And it seems to me like Wright Tulicus is starting to pull away from Wopke Hoekstra as well. And look how far off the pace, actually, Adrian Holm has just fallen. Look how far off the pace Risto Capit just fallen as well. He's starting to lose ground to Dino Paolini. And now James Wilson's catching up onto the back of this. I wondered whether there's a bit of tyre wear issues here, Kacper, because I certainly know from talking to a couple of Formula Challenge drivers from last night, tyre wear, bizarrely, around this circuit seems to be posing a couple of issues, more in the overheating of the tyres than the actual wear itself.
It could be very possible because of the nature of this track with so many very quick corners and so many heavy braking points. So I wouldn't be surprised at all that tyre would be an issue after pushing very, very hard.
As further down the order, we've got another overtake going on. This is another Enterprise falling down the order. Scott Beresford there just being overtaken by Edgar Ruiz, who puts himself up into the top 10, although, oh my word, that's a lot of sliding out of that corner, and I don't like it. And, they're not going to go side by side through Mobile 1! Oh, my word! That was commitment from Scott Beresford, and it's paid off for him big time.
It's paid off for Menno Klont.
Yeah, it's paid off for him. That's contact between Van der Voort and Ruiz, and that was a real shame. I think Ruiz and Van der Voort just very slippy out of Sachs' corner. So wow, that was a lot of commitment from Scott Beresford, and he's ended up the best party out of the lot, arguably.
With damage, suspension damage after touching the wall, his steering wheel is actually quite significantly turned to the right. Oh, straight? No, actually, never mind.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Hockenheim, where there has been yet another mistake from Adrian Holm, the man who was running in P5, got it horribly wrong on the Turn 1 apex, which has claimed quite a few drivers here today, and it has meant that he's not lost one, not lost two, but in total now has lost 5 positions. He's just been overtaken by Scott Beresford into the hairpin. Adrian Holm's day goes from bad to worse, and it's all just a case of consistency, Kacper. Once again, small little mistakes like that, they cost you big points.
Yeah, again, everyone's running so tightly packed still. The top 10 is separated by 15 seconds, so one small mistake and you're basically losing 2 or 3 places at the minimum.
As has been the case.
Also, from what I'm seeing at the moment, it seems like Sven and Lars are perhaps slightly struggling with the grip with the rear tires now, because there are certain corners where they're always spinning they're always having a bit of a spinning wheel syndrome.
I'm wondering whether that's the same case with Adrian Holm. He becomes our first pitter of the day on lap 16 of 38. This is an early stop, and I do wonder whether it's for suspension damage as well as tires, but maybe people are starting to lose the rear grip a lot earlier than we were expecting around this circuit.
I'd not be surprised, because again, there are a lot of places where you have to start away from very slow speeds, like the hairpin, the second corner. It's all this entire circuit is kind of very stop and go in nature as well. So I wouldn't be surprised that the rear tires are what the problem is with the tire at the moment, more than the fronts by any means.
Right, we are going to do a little spotlight on a driver who we both think is doing very well. James Wilson, debutant in the Supercup, is currently holding his own in P7 against David Francic and Scott Beresford. I realized he had a little bit of a slip there through Mobile 1. That would have been a terrible commentator's curse, but he's doing extremely well up in P7. I mean, to get a top 10 on your debut in the Supercup is something, but it seems like he's been part of the series for years.
That is incredible. Well, you could say talent to be able to just get into a series and do so well right out of the box. It's definitely not something you see every day.
As there was a slight change of position there between Sven and Lars. I think that Sven just had a bit of a timing glitch there, so no need to worry just now. Yeah, he's doing incredibly well. And Adrian Holm, by the way, he's come out in and around P18, P19. I noticed Lewis McGlade just going into the pits there, so that will definitely be for a tyre stop. How long can Wilson hold on to this P7, though? David Francic has been closing every single lap. He weaves to the left, weaves to the right, dives to the inside of the hairpin. And around the outside.
And we have contact.
No, they've taken each other out. There's a little bit of contact there. And it was just Wilson lighting up his tyres ever so slightly. But what that means, of course, is that Scott Beresford's actually capitalized on that very nicely. He's through into P8.
Now, that was a bit that's just, I've seen this happen twice or 3 times already. It's just so easy to lose grip on the outside of the hairpin. It's because they basically have to go onto the curb, and it seems like there's just no grip for the rear tires to actually get away from that low of a speed.
And it's a totally innocent mistake as well, isn't it? It's not like he's trying to swerve into David or anything. It's just the rear is losing grip.
Oh, of course, it is very much a racing incident where you just it's nothing you can counteract quickly enough to not to cause a contact when you're side by side with another.
Further down the field, Dennis Jordan's moved his way up into the top 10. So remember, Dennis Jordan starting at the back of the grid, now into the top 10. He's having a great race, really showing that the pace that he put on display in qualifying was not a red herring. It's just the pace which he's got right now. As I'm looking back up further, David Francic going to probably want that P9 or that P8 back from Scott Beresford. But Scott Beresford, other ideas, he wants to take P7. He dives into the hairpin, just about breaks in time. And despite that bit of late braking, he's done it.
Wilson. Another piece of contact with Wilson and Francic on the exit. This time it was more of a Francic slightly touching the rear wheel with his front wing.
Everyone came out of it okay, though. That's the main
Thankfully.
thing. And,
but what's happening right now is that Lars Brugman is starting to really reel Sven de Vries in.
I wonder whether we'll be seeing it soon for those two, actually.
I would say that Sven will come in first because I think he may be struggling with his tires a bit more.
Look at that, 2.2 seconds. Yeah, I mean, he's lost 2 seconds over, the past couple of laps or something?
Something like that. He's losing half a second in the last sector alone. At least this lap and last lap, it seems like. So.
Oh, hello, we've got an early caller here. Thomas Hinz in from P13. That's our first man coming in from point scoring positions after Holm. We'll see whether that affects him too much. Remember, Holm in P18. He's just going to come around the final corner now. Who's that in? Also, Oyala and Hutchinson in as well. So guys near the back who perhaps have less to lose coming in to get their stop done on lap 19 of 38. So this is very much the halfway point. I'm sure some people will want to be stretching those tyres out a little bit further, though, so that they have the best tyres for the end of the races. James Wilson looking to get past Scott Beresford again, but I don't think it's going to work. And in fact, he's left the door open. David Francic is through. That was Wilson trying to get past Beresford, breaking too deep into the hairpin, and Francic pounced and took P8 away from him. So Wilson down to P9.
Yes, it's still very impressive. I mean, ninth place for a debutant is still extremely impressive, and
of course,
well, we've seen the two who just overtook him, Beresford and Francic, I close up to him. So it's just a matter of time before he did get overtaken. But it's still a very impressive drive so far.
Kacper in from P5. Now, this is a very interesting state of affairs because Kacper is usually one of the last guys to pit, but here he is, one of the first from P5. Beresford, Francic, and Wilson all go through, as does Jordan, Klont in, Quint in, and Muru and Polozek there have had a crash or have gone off at the final corner, so they're just losing time amongst themselves. Let's see where Home comes out in all this. Risto Kacper out into P10, by the way. Is he going to come out ahead of Polozek, though? No, he is not.
No, he isn't.
And what about Holm? So Holm is past Klont, who's in P11. So I think he's just going to be in and around the top 10 as per usual, Holm, once all the pit stops have sorted themselves out. But Klont back into P14. Quint's back into P15. Here comes Hinz. He tried the undercut, and it didn't work. He remains in P16.
If Risto Kacper tried to get a bit of an undercut, pitting in exactly halfway into the race, this is just going to be a big hindrance now, considering he's just behind Polozek.
Yeah, it's not even like he's in a battle as well. I mean, he's got Randu Muru right behind him as well, filling in at Racing Team Stroton. So really not the best pitting place for the Estonian, but looking back up to the front, De Vries goes round, Brugman goes round, Hoekstra in from P3. And so Tulikas will retake. Oh, we might have a bit of a problem here as well, that both of the Mazuriks have pitted at the same time. Hoekstra and Paulini into the pits at the same time. Francic in as well. Sorry, Wilson going around, Jordan in. So a lot of people in this lap. And what of Paulini? Does he have to wait? Oh, he does have to wait. Oh, no. That must be 2 or 3 seconds lacking there from Paulini in the pit stops. Nightmare stop for Mazurik overall. Whoopsie Hoekstra back out into P6. Round goes Polozek again. Kacper through into P8. And Paulini stays ahead of Francic, but he's a lot closer to the Croatian now than he was before the pit stops. That's for sure. And here comes Adrian Holm as well to add more fun to the party.
That was a terrible team decision. Team communication must have just failed between them two. Losing a couple of seconds like that is definitely not something you want to do in such a close race.
And look at this. Here comes Holm then. Down the outside of the Parabolica, which will become the inside. I mean, he's passed before they've even hit the hairpin. So Adrian Holm back into the top 10.
Kacper just got through Koloziejczyk in the DRS through Parabolica as well.
So that means that he's cleared him nice and well. So there's no more need to worry. Race leader, De Vries is in. And Lars Brugman goes round again, interestingly. Let's see whether Tuulakas will follow suit. He does. I'm pretty sure that will be to cover off Hoekstra's attempted undercut. Next to come in will be Scott Beresford if he does come in. No, Beresford going to go round again. What about Wilson? Wilson is in. And then, of course, it is Hoekstra who will be the next down the road. So where will De Vries and Tuulakas fan out? De Vries will come out behind Beresford. Here comes Tuulakas. Has he been able to get any closer to Hoekstra? Hoekstra comes round turn 1. The answer is pretty much exactly the same where they left each other before the pit stops. Risto Capit then P6. Koloziejczyk still going round. They've 7. Very impressive effort from the German there. Paulini P8. And here comes Holm. He's past Wilson Holm. So that early stop from Adrian Holm has worked wonders. He's into P9. Frančić P10. Stays just ahead of James Wilson in P11. But the one caveat with Holm, of course, is that he pitted before the halfway mark even. So his tyres are going to be going off the earliest out of all of the drivers on circuit now.
Yes, that'll definitely be a factor at the very end of the race. But at the moment, the good thing for him is that he has all the tires up to temperature. So if they're honestly at the moment, since James is on pretty cold tires, probably straight out of the pits, he may lose even a slight bit more initially, possibly. As
Lars Brugman, then our new race leader, comes into the pits after only leading 1 lap. I imagine Scott Beresford goes round again. Interesting strategy from the Englishman. He's going to lead a lap here at Hockenheim. De Vries goes round again, and here comes Brugman. So De Vries will definitely stay ahead of the Dutchman, his pseudo-compatriot, of course. And Lars Brugman, I think, has possibly lost a bit of time, actually, over that lap. It looks like the gap's extended ever so slightly.
That's what possibly looks like, but it's, we're just going to have to wait and see. Yes, he has lost a second at least.
So not good there for Lars Brugman at all, as Tobias Koloziejczyk comes into the pits. He was P7 on entry, and he's going to leave in the points in P14. And I'm fingers crossed for Tobias here, because if he does finish, that'll be his first point score in Supercup. It'd be exactly the same thing for Rando Muru. This is only his second Supercup event. He only qualified for Austria with Syntec Enterprise GP, so it'd be good to see both of them scoring points. I believe this would be Mike Quint's first points actually in Supercup as well, currently in the TG car, battling away with Menno Klont in P11, and Thomas Inns isn't too far behind there in P13 either. So all eyes then are up to Scott Beresford, currently P1.
There's a touch between Frančić and Wilson, by the way. Again, Thankfully, no damage. It was just a little contact, but scary moment for both of them.
Beresford in, and he is the last of our pitters. Sven de Vries then retakes the lead of the race. And Lars Brugman, well, if he lost a bit of time during the pits, then he's surely on it now. 2.1 seconds between himself and de Vries. So the Dutchman rides on it now. Hoekstra retakes 3rd. Tuulakas fans out into 4th. Kacper will be up into 5th. And here goes Beresford leaving the pits. And it looks like Dino Paolini has jumped Scott Beresford. Or has he? No, I lied. Paolini was in 6th anyway. Never mind me. The question is Scott Beresford going to stay ahead of Adrian Holm, though? The answer is yes, for now. But I remember distinctly that when Holm came out the pits, Beresford was the last person to overtake him. I wonder whether there's going to be a bit of payback here as Adrian Holm gets the DRS.
Possibly.
And Hoekstra's just been overtaken by Tuulakas. And that was all DRS related as well. So, actually, I think Holm might... No, apparently that was just DRS. Never mind. So Tuulakas up into 3rd. And Holm is past Beresford. And Wilson's past Frančić. 3 overtakes, 1 corner.
Quint fighting with Klont, it looks like. They were very close as well into the hairpin again.
Quint's overtaking Klont into the hairpin also. 4 overtakes, 1 corner.
On 1 lap. That's quite impressive.
And what's happened to Koloziejczyk? Oh, he's down to B20. Oh, he must have had a drive-through. He's just been in and out of the pits again for a drive-through penalty. That's a shame. So that means that Tomio Yala will be up into the final point-paying position for Go Sport. Those got Lewis McGlade there in very close pursuit as well. Lewis a little bit lower than he would probably like to be, I'd imagine. Quint's been off the road. Yep, Quint's been off the road. It sucks. We've seen a couple of people go off there as well. So Menacont up into P11. Thomas Hinds will capitalize through to P12. Quint down to P13.
All going absolutely the wrong way everywhere for a lot of the drivers. Just after the pace, it's just absolutely everything is just mental at this very moment.
It's like whenever we have a stop-start situation, everything flares up and then it'll calm down again. It's up 25 of 38, by the way. Sven de Vries leads by 2.2 seconds. That gap remaining pretty consistent over the last couple of laps. To Lucas, of course, retaken third now from Wout Hoekstra, who currently occupies P4. So Kacper in a world of his own in P5 with Dino Paolini P6. Adrian Holm now back up into 7 after 2 mistakes already. Scott Beresford 8th. James Wilson 9th. And rounding out the top 10 is David Franchic, who will be desperate to take back that P9 after losing it to Wilson just a couple of laps ago.
Thomas Hinds into 11th, or fighting with Menacont.
Oh, yeah, around the outside of Mercedes as well. That's a beautiful move. Thomas Hinds, the Australian.
Fantastic. He was worried about his pace before the race, but it appears like his race pace is absolutely spawn.
Well, he's got to be careful now, though, because he's got Gont and Quint behind him. It's a double K surprise, or it's a special K surprise. Yes, getting those snack references in while I still can. But yeah, it's a great little fight, actually, these three, and hopefully they'll be able to keep it clean until the end. Hinds looking like he extended quite a bit over that third sector. It looks like Menaclont's the one under the most pressure out of this triplet, as Mike Quint follows him sharply through turn 1, goes a little bit wide there. I'm pretty sure all three of these guys will actually have DRS as we head round to the Parabolica for the 26th time of asking.
Well, not Hinds, but the two
not
behind,
Hinds.
yes.
No, yes, you're very true there, actually. So that means that will Quint have a double? You'll have a double slipstream, I'd imagine, Quint. We'll see as they head round the Parabolica now. You can see Quint closing on Clont, much more than Clont on Hinds. Is there enough, though? The answer is no.
Hinds very quick in a straight line as well. Clont did not have anything on him in a straight line at all, even with DRS being open.
And so it remains status quo for another lap. Randu Muru 14th. Tommy Oyala 15th. For how much longer will that be the case, though? As Lewis McGlade is right on the back of Oyala as well. And I noticed that Dennis Jordan and Mark Hutchinson, they're pretty close as well. So the battle for the final point, definitely not over, as the gap between De Vries and Brugman closes to 2 seconds. So it is still closing ever so slightly. Is the gap too big for Lars to whittle down, though? I'm not too sure at this stage.
Well, I'm very surprised at the moment by is Dennis Jordan being outside of the points. He's behind the two battling for the last point. It's with what he's shown beforehand, it just seems very odd.
Might have had a bit of a mistake somewhere, I'd imagine.
Very possibly, or some drive for penalty as well, or something along these lines.
For both evolutions, that'd be poor.
It would.
As let's have a look here. Beresford's closing in on Holm again. Again, it's one of these stages, Kacper, where it's sort of like a calm before the storm. We have plenty of battles that could flare up. It's a question of whether they will. I guess it's probably best to look at Quint versus Clont at this stage. It's looking pretty close as we head into the hairpin. Nothing doing, of course, again. But these three looking very close as Quint gets a little bit of a light about the hairpin there.
The one thing Quint doesn't want to do is do too many of those, because that will kill his rear tires before too long.
Sorry, Lewis McGlade there. Oh, he was on the outside of Oyala. He tried to go around the outside, didn't work. And he's left himself open to Dennis Jordan, who's going to go down the outside, or inside, sorry, of turn 7. McGlade's sensible. He's not going to fight that one too hard. Is he into the Mercedes, though? He breaks a little later. But Dennis Jordan has that one sealed. He's up into P16 once again.
As I said, it's very weird that Jordan was not in the point after the pit stops anyway, so I would not be surprised if Tommy Oyala lost another spot to Dennis Jordan.
It would be a shame.
It'll be a shame.
One of many... Whoa. Get your words right, James. He's one of many drivers looking to score their first points here today. And for Go Sports especially, you've had a rough couple of rounds there. They're points that they need, although that said, Evolution missed the entirety of Austria. So they're looking to gain some points as well as they head through turn 1. And Jordan goes off track, so that might lose him a little bit of time.
I have to say, I'm on the side of Tommy since he is my teammate in another place, so...
Oh, I see.
Yes,
supporter. Yeah.
yes, we drive the same car, so
Oh, right. So
we did, yes.
Special
Yes.
connection, endurance, I'm
Yes,
guessing.
we do, yes. In any case, it seems like in the front, by the way, the gap is still very stable between De Vries and Lars Bergman. So Lars has 10 laps to catch up if he wants to challenge for the win.
It's as simple as that. But it's simple to say, isn't it? But it's a completely different matter when you're out there on track trying to find pace where you can't find it. Scott Beresford certainly closing in on Adrian Holm again. And I am worried about Holm's tyre wear now, Kacper, because we are in the final 10 laps of this race. He pitted very early, Holm, and certainly out of the rest of the field over the past 6 rounds or so, he seems to be one of those guys who does wear through his tyres a lot more than others. So he's P7 now, but how low could he probably end up?
Who knows? He was the first one of the first pitters, and obviously that means that his tire was bad. Considering that it will probably be not much better now. So I would really say he'll be struggling by the end to keep the top 10.
I'm sorry, Rob, did you say something? Or apparently we've got Paolini. Oh yeah, indeed. Yeah, let's have a look at Paolini here, who's actually caught up to Risto Kacper. And we've seen him have a few anonymous races so far this season, but no more so anonymous than this. He's been, quite frankly, he's done nothing apart from make a few overtakes at the start there to get out to P5 with Paolini. And that Mazurek setup in general, actually, Kacper, looking incredibly strong.
Yeah, he seems to be extremely fast, and that team, yeah, indeed, 4th and 6th, that's very good.
That'd be by far and away their best team result of the season. I mean, they've got podiums through Paolini before. They've even had a pole position through Paolini before, but they've been in and around the top 10 so far this season, and yet there's this, they've all of a sudden found this charge. I do wonder whether it's just once more set up as all, but they made a mistake through sector 1, through turn 1. Once again, the curbing, catching him out there, and Paolini in now a prime position to take P6, or to take P5, sorry. He's already in P6, and a reminder that in the sprint race, we will have a reverse grid of a randomly generated number between 6 and 10. So he's already in that position, but can he get one better? He moves to the inside of Risto Kacper. Will he break later? Discretion, the better part of valor on this occasion. I think he'd be happy to take home 10 points. There's no need to risk your car for an extra one.
Yes, Risto taking a very defensive line to the corner. So if he was to go on the inside, that would only end in tears.
And it seems like it's going to remain status quo for now. Sven de Vries actually extending his lead to the top by another 2 tenths. I fear that he's got this one in the bag for the case of Lars Bergman, Kacper. It just seems like he's got
there's
real
Jordan attacking for 15th, and there's contact between him and Tommy Oyala. Tommy losing 2 places.
There's a real scraggle of cars down here. My word, we've got Jordan, McGlade, Oyala in there as well, Hutchinson, and who's that tagging onto the back? Edgar Ruiz, of course, who was recovering after that contact with Van der Voort. Round goes Oyala, knocking the back of Jordan. There wasn't much that Jordan could do there. It was just a bit of late breaking from Oyala. He's now out of this battle, but crucially for Jordan, he's into that final point scoring position, so he's going to be the happiest of the lot. Oh, Lewis McGlade almost losing it to Mobile 1 there. Off the track, Hutchinson gains a position, Ruiz gains a position, McGlade back on in 18th.
With all that, we've also lost Polocek. He has DNF.
Yeah, that seems like just a disconnection or a pull into the garage and call it a day retirement, unfortunately. So 4th retirement, and it's not a good day for T's. We've had 3 drivers with a name beginning with T retiring from this race. Tobias, and Tom.
Yeah, and Tommy didn't have a very good last couple laps either, so...
It's a curse. It's a curse, I tell you. It is a curse. Let's have a look.
Although, to be honest, Thomas Hintz is doing very well for himself.
He is indeed, and he's actually still holding on to that P11 nicely, despite continued pressure from Menno Klont and Mike Quint. There is,
and despite having a name starting with T.
Despite having a name starting with T, indeed. I hope, fingers crossed for Tommy goes to the end. I'm looking up to P7 now, once again, Kacper. And we thought this was going to be a battle between Beresford and Holm. Wrong, by the way. James Wilson's decided, you know what, I've had enough of David Franchich. I want to get higher positions than that. And he's latching onto the back of this Beresford Holm as he makes a small mistake there. It's nothing that he can't catch up, of course. But Holmes' pace starting to fade.
James seems to have an absolutely amazing pace. Like, he has left Frančić into the dust behind him 2 seconds or so, or actually a second and a half now after a mistake, but it still seems like he has the pace to challenge Beresford.
We'll wait and see. I mean, obviously, this is now spread out, and I'm not even sure whether Beresford got DRS that time around after a small mistake through turn 2 there. He's definitely not closed anyway.
No, he hasn't by about 2 hundredths of a second.
Oh, and Paolini's past Kacper. Paolini is past Kacper, and guess where the overtake happened once again?
The hairpin.
Into the hairpin. That DRS zone is proving very nice indeed for the purposes of overtaking around this circuit. Gino Paolini into the top 5. This is a great day for Mazurek Racing.
Yeah, Mazurek seems to have the best team, actually probably the more consistent team effort at the moment of any team, because everyone in front of them are just a single team members of different teams.
Of course, Paolini continuing on that wonderful streak. The only time he's not scored points this season was the first race of the season, and he got hit off the road in that one. So continuing to put good credibility behind his name, and it's great to see Woepke back on good pace as well. As the future is looking very, very bright for Mazurek Racing at the moment, and you would just wonder how far they can go with that driver pairing. Risto Kacper then down to P6. Holm, Beresford, Wilson, Frančić rounding out the top 10. Hinds now starting to pull away a little bit from Klont actually in P11, with Klont himself in P12, Quint P13. In fact, it looks like Quint is more likely to attack Klont than Klont Hinds at the moment. Muru still 14th. Jordan still rounding out the top 15, and he's 3 seconds clear of Hutchinson. So it's lap 33 and 38. Things seem to have calmed down again. The only real battles which I could see potentially flaring up once again is maybe Kacper Paolini, maybe Beresford Wilson. And actually looking at Wilson, he's on a real charge now. Look at this. Beresford's lost a lot of time to Holm, and Wilson is pressuring Beresford as we head into sector 3.
As I said, James Wilson is really impressive with his pace at the moment. And again, he could challenge for 8th place easily now. Maybe we're going to see another move to the hairpin. It's very likely. Very
likely, considering that that's practically one of the only places where we've seen overtakes. We've seen a couple of really crazy overtakes as well, don't get me wrong, but the hairpin seems like the most logical solution, isn't it? With that massive DRS zone preceding it. Lap 34 of 38 then. 5 laps remaining as there has been a change down in P12 and P13. And Menno Klont has been off the road. So Mike Quint up into P12. Menno Klont down to P13. And that was a simple mistake from Menno Klont. Just completely went off the road at the final couple of corners. Thankfully for him, he's got a further 6 seconds on Randu Muru for 14th.
Now, this is going to be interesting because we've obviously seen Klont challenging Hinds so far, but we haven't really seen Quint challenging Hinds. So we're just going to have to see. Maybe they have a slightly better setup for DRS overtaking. Who knows?
Maybe. I mean, oh, wow. You can see how close he's
him.
Gotten there. My word. I think you might have hit the hail on the head there. Wow, my words are failing me today once again. It happens every once a month, I tell you. I think you've hit the nail on the head there. It seems like under those straight line zones, he's able to just eat up the gap ever so easily. And there's been a further overtake, and look at that. James Wilson through on Scott Beresford. And was that into Mobile 1? Oh, no, that was Scott Beresford going off the road at Mobile 1, actually. So, place where he made that wonderful overtake on Edgar Ruiz. He's been off there, and James Wilson through into P8.
Beresford very clearly struggling with his tires now, considering his space has gone off so much. He has been on Holm before and just keeping up with him, and now he's just barely keeping it together.
Which is weird, because he was the last of the entire field.
Possibly a bit too aggressive on trying to overtake Holm from different places and just killing his rear tires. That could just be it.
Maybe. Or maybe he's entering like a graining phase or something, I don't know. As I've just peeked up to the lead gap, and it's dropped under 2 seconds. It is now 1.8. It's gone up a little bit over that second sector. But Lars Brugman appears to be throwing all of his batteries into the back of his car and going full power for this one. It's make or break time for the Dutchman.
I'm actually not that surprised because the actual gap has been fluctuating between 1.7 and 2.2 seconds for the last 10 laps or so. So
Oh,
there isn't really much to read into it, but we're going to just have to wait and see if Lars can catch up.
just going to do a little peruse down the field, see whether we're going to have any other overtakes. There's every possibility that Beresford might fall into the hands of Francic again. He might catch up to Wilson again. Hin's Quint is still pretty close, actually, as well. I'm just having a look to see whether there's any outside the points. You've got Mark Hutchinson, Lewis McGlade. That's quite a close fight going on as well. I think it's probably best if we stick with Hin's Quint at the moment, because this is a battle which is very close. And Quint within the DRS zone as well as we head on to lap 36 of 38. 3 laps remaining. Quint will just be hoping that Hinz makes a mistake through this first sector so that he has the best possible opportunity to have a go into the hairpin.
Yeah, now it's just a matter of seeing what's going to happen. They're very close together, coming out of the corner just before the parabolica.
Well, that's a great exit. That's a great exit from Quint. Definitely within DRS zone. And I think this might be game, set, and match for Thomas Hinz in that 11th position. Quint's going to the inside, interestingly, which will translate to the outside of the hairpin. They break late, both of them. Quint will have to try around the outside. He's going to try the undercut. Actually. Does it work?
Hinz getting a better traction. Hinz getting better traction on the outside. The Robert in part, thanks to R Factors 2's reload, has really helped him.
I think that Quint needs to force the issue a bit. He needs to go down the inside of that hairpin, doesn't he? Stop Hinz from taking the optimal line.
It's also not that easy to do, of course, because Hinz just can very well cover the inside line very much so, and then it's just very difficult, and you just have to do it on the outside.
That's a fair point, well made, actually. Fair point, well made. He's starting to lose time though. It's running out fast. The opportunities are diminishing by the corner for the Dutch driver on the Australian, as the gap is now down to 1.4 seconds, Kacper. I don't think that's a fluctuation.
No, that is not a fluctuation. I was just about to say that is something that we can definitely see closing in now. So let's just see, and possibly Lars is going to try it into the last lap. But the thing is, he is running out of time very rapidly by now.
Oh yeah, we're on the penultimate lap already, so this is going to be the last lap of the race. The next time De Vries hits the start-finish line, I do think that there won't be enough time, actually, looking at it all.
Unless De Vries makes a mistake, this is all said and done, I'd say.
Wilson's catching up to Holm, and Beresford's catching up to Wilson, so that midfield battle could still flare up.
Hinz still keeping it up, even after the hairpin. He's still in front of Quint.
I think it's going to be a final lap thing. I really do. Here we go then. 1.2 seconds between Brugman and De Vries. So Brugman is still going to be out of DRS range, I believe, once we hit that. Yeah, 1.2 seconds. So he's outside of DRS range, Brugman.
Beresford goes around.
Who?
Beresford goes around, loses to Francic.
Oh dear. And was that contact or was that just on his own? Oh, it was definitely on his own. Definitely on his own. That's the rear tyres completely going. So Francic gains P9, and that's a lot less for Wilson to worry about. And look at that now. Wilson well within DRS range of Adrian Holm. He could be looking at a possible P7 here if he plays his cards right. So I am keeping an eye up on De Vries. They're still far away from the checkered flag. So let's see. Can Wilson take a P7 here at the death from Adrian Holm, one of the first pitter?
Bit too far.
Bit too far behind. That's some good straight line speed from Adrian Holm there.
But Holm makes a mistake coming out, but it's not enough.
No, so we'll go back up to our leader then. Still over a second ahead of Lars Brugman. He has trolled this race beautifully. And Sven de Vries will quite deservedly take race 1 win here at Hockenheim. Lars Brugman will take P2 from pole position. Right Tulicus will come home to take what will be his second podium of the year. Or maybe his third podium now, actually. Sorry, P3 for him. Whoopke Hoekstra, a very impressive P4 with Dino Paolini taking home P5. He had to fend off Kacper near the end there, but that's a great overall team result for Mazurek. Kacper P6. Adrian Holm, is he going to hold on? Yes, he is. Adrian Holm takes P7. Wilson P8. Francic will take home P9. With Beresford rounding out the top 10. Hinz did hold on in the end to take P11 from Mike Quint, who will take P12. Meno Klonk will take home P13, with Rando Muru scoring his first points in Supercup P14, and this Jordan will take home the final point of the order, P15, from the back of the grid. From this race, Piers Alton, Tom Vandervoort, and Tobias Polotek.
So yes, basically it was masterfully done by De Vries, just absolutely controlled from the start to finish. And my little bet, I guess you could say, on him winning the race was actually completely correct.
You absolutely nailed that one. There was some good spotting from qualifying, and in terms of where that places De Vries in terms of race wins, of course, crucially, he does close up a little bit in the championship. It's only by 5 points.
But that's going to bring him into less than 100 points difference. So
it will, actually. That's a very good shout. As the one time when I want to look at my statistics, my laptop decides, nah, I don't want you to look at your statistics. Statistics are boring. I just wanted to see how many wins De Vries has had this year. Actually, hold on. Can I get it from here?
I should be able to tell you.
This is his 5th race win of the year. Fifth race win.
That's very impressive.
And of course, it's his 3rd race win in 3 rounds.
That's very, very impressive. Now we're just going to have to see how he's going to do in the 2nd race, but obviously because of the reverse grid, Lars is going to have a bit of an he's going to have an advantage over him starting in front of him, and we're just going to have to see. So considering all the rounds beforehand, Lars could very well win this one.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. I mean, in terms of the reverse grid candidates, it's not good viewing for anybody who's hoping for a result. Kacper and Holm at the head of that train, not great. But then you have James Wilson in there on debut. That'd be a very interesting scenario. David Frančić, of course, he's taken podiums in the series. He's, of course, taken 1 race win this year, of course, at race 2 in Monaco. And then you have Scott Beresford, also a race winner from 2nd race of Australia. So the only non-race winner in there is James Wilson. So very esteemed company.
Well done, and obviously a debutant, so that's amazing. I just wanted to give shout out to actually James Wilson and Thomas Hinz for Wilson for doing such a great job as a debutant, and then Thomas Hinz for getting a very good place after quite a disappointing qualifying session.
For sure. Oh, dear me. So yeah, shout out to James Wilson. That was definitely, it was Mike Quint's debut as well, scoring points on debut. And in truth, it was Rando Muru's first Super Cup race as well. He never even got to take part in anything in Austria. So 3 drivers who've not taken part in a Super Cup race before, scoring points here today. That is really good. It's great for them. It's great to see that we've got new talent coming through all the time.
Impressive to say the very least.
And so then, we look to head into a small warm-up session before we head into race 2. 22 laps, a sprint until the end, but I think tyre wear became a serious issue.
It has, and
Kacper.
we've seen all of the drivers struggling by the end. We've seen De Vries struggling by the end of his first stint. We've seen drivers in midfield struggling everywhere, just trying to get the actual power down onto the on it and tried to get away from the couple corners and just couldn't do it because just no grip on the rear tires. The rear tires just take a massive beating.
I mean, what? I was trying to think when the latest pitter was, and he was saying like lap 18, wasn't it, or something, or lap 19 was from Scott Beresford, which is nowhere near the 22.
I think it was 20. I think it was actually around lap 21 or 22. So I think he can just about last.
The question is it even worth pitting at this stage? Like, especially in a sprint race format, is it sometimes best just to grin and bear it almost?
Unless you're losing about a second a lap, it's not worth it. And even then, I think even losing a second a lap would be, by the end, would just not... it would be, you would just lose too much time by pitting in and changing tires. It's just... and unless it would be like that the tires completely got killed by that stage, it's not worth it.
For sure. So unfortunately, we've had a bit of a delay in even going to the warm-up session. So we're going to have to waffle on at you for a bit longer. And actually, you know what? I'm going to head on into the YouTube chat if I can. Of course, like I'm asking a lot of my technology here to to bear with me, but about that point I'm going on to there. Let's talk about Sven de Vries for a little bit. What sort of a second half of the season is he going to need to pull out to even have a chance of catching up to Lars Brugman? Because don't get us wrong here, he's not mathematically out of it by any stretch of the imagination, but is Lars Brugman too far ahead, and is he too consistent enough to catch? Because even when Sven de Vries finished first here, Lars Brugman was right behind him.
Yeah, it'll be very, very tough, and unless Lars has some dramatically bad races, and unless Sven can basically pull out wins all across the board from now on, it's going to be extremely difficult to challenge Lars.
And maybe we could go through a couple of the other drivers. So let's talk a bit about Hoekstra and Paulini. What sort of things should they be hoping for from
I think
race 2? And actually from the second half of the season in general, because Paulini's been the only consistent thing about Welcome back, everybody, to Hockenheim for the umpteenth time. Again, thank you very much for sticking with us. Lots of last-minute stuff, but we're almost there. We're almost into race 2, and we've just had confirmation through on the nature of the reverse grid. It's number 9, so the only man to miss out, Scott Beresford there. So that final mistake in race 1 really costing him. The front 2 rows look like this. Then David Francic will lead off on pole position. Remember, his only race win this season has been from the reverse grid pole position. James Wilson on his debut will start on the front row alongside him. Adrian Holm third, Risto Capit fourth, and then of course ahead of Capit is Dino Paulini and Wupke Hoekstra. Interesting set of results there, Kacper, for us to look at in terms of how the starting grid is forming up, but David Francic, Adrian Holm, Risto Capit, 3 names there that you'd instantly think surely they're going to be in with a very good chance of winning this reverse grid.
But I would actually, from what I've seen so far, I would actually kind of not give too much hope into Risto Capit winning. He's just not shown the pace so far this entire weekend, just to be able to take it.
So who would you think is going to be there? I mean, after Hoekstra, of course, you got Tulikas, then Brugman and de Vries. Do you think they're really going to come back from a 9-place reverse grid? They have done it before, of course, and with Hockenheim, you've certainly got the DRS ability to do so, but there's been mistakes creeping into a lot of systems, and you wonder if they might get a little bit unlucky.
I think there's an ever so slight chance of Brugman and de Vries getting back into the podium and possibly winning it. With their absolute speed, they had so much pace, but we're just going to have to wait and see. Hostra was going pretty well. So yeah, we're just going to have to wait and see. Really, I would actually kind of enjoy seeing de Vries do really well again.
So you're going to go for de Vries again. I think we'll go through the grid, and I'll make my way up as we go along.
I'll make my exact prediction whilst I see the proper grid. There we go.
And so it is time to head into race 2 then, just getting a better look at the grid, of course. I'm wondering whether we have everyone come back. In fact, we've gained one. We've lost one and we've gained one. It seems like Tobias Olsen has not returned for Ice Cold Racing, but we have gained Niranjan Kumar. So Racing Team Shoten have an extra driver on their hands, which is good for them, of course. And it might lead to even more points with Rando, of course, scoring in race 1. Anyway, time to lead us off on our second formation lap of the evening, one which I can actually call this time. David Francic then for Street Fighter Racing Systems takes us off from pole position with James Wilson for Kajala Racing P2, Adrian Holm for Go Sport Internationals P3 with Risto Capit for Street Fighter Racing Systems P4, Dino Paulini for Mazurik leads his teammate Wupke Hoekstra. We then have Right Tulicus for Simtech Enterprise GP P7, Lars Brugman for Team Proline P8, Sven de Vries for Satellite Racing P9, and rounding out the top 10 is Simtech Enterprise GP Scott Beresford. Thomas Hinz for Fox Racing starts P11 with Mike Quint filling in for TG Racing P12. Menno Klont is P13 for Multiforce GP with Randu Muru filling in for Racing Team Schroten. We then have Dennis Jordan, P15 for Evolution Motorsports, with Edgar Ruiz, a disappointing 16th, of course, in race 1 for TG Racing. Mark Hutchinson, filling in for Jason Muscat at Multiforce GP with Lewis McGlade, a disappointing P18 for Kayala. Tommy Oyala starts P19 for Go Sport International, and rounding out the top 20 is Boya Milan for ST Racing. He actually leads his teammate Mark Fuller in P21 with Tobias Polotzek, P22 for Revolution. He starts off our retireed and non-starting members with Tom van der Voort starting P23 for Satellite, Niels Rogman starting very far down the order in P24 for Team Proline, and Naranjan Kumar for Racing Team Schroten rounding out the grid in P25. Neither of their primary drivers here today, Racing Team Schroten, Riera or Tumala. Quite lucky to have two drivers actually filling in at such late notice. But as Frančić rounds Sark's corner then, I'm going to put my neck out on the line, and I'm going to go for a Risto Capit win. I think he had a great start in race 1, and I think if he can do the same in race 2, then the free air will be to his advantage. What about yourself, Kacper?
You know what? I'm going to go for hopes and dreams, and I'm just going to try and see what James Wilson has to offer, and maybe he can do it from the front line. He's shown some amazing pace, so I'm just going to have to wait and see.
Of course, we have to remember that Lars Brugman, the only time when he's not scored a win is in Spain. So could we be looking at the first time since Spain where Lars Brugman has not taken a win in a race evening? It's certainly something to keep an eye on. Lots of intrigue, lots of interest. As the lights light up, we have 3, we have 4, we have 5. And for the final time here at the Hockenheimring, Real Racing. And it's a good start there from Wilson. The second stage there, much better from Frančić. As Adrian Holm there gets a good start as well. Around the outside of turn 1, he's in exactly the same thing as before, except he goes off the track. Debatable, illegal overtake there. As James Wilson now comes under pressure from Risto Capit out to P4. Not doing much there as everyone just trying to go into turn 2 there as best they can. Everyone going through very nicely. But David Frančić there, good launch, but how good will this first lap be for Adrian Holmby? Remember, he had such a good first lap, taking the lead after 6 corners. It's not going to be like that this time around, but he is very close. P2 there, James Wilson P3 as everyone bunches up into the hairpin, just trying to get through as best they can. A lot of wiggling as the track is greened out of it. And there goes Dino Paolini and Lars Brugman going through your picture. Lars Brugman there just overtaking Paolini for P5. So the Dutchman's had a great start so far. Miles ahead of Sven de Vries, who he was alongside with. As, oh my word, there's lots of battling going down in the midfield. It's crazy how they're all going and
we have
one
spinners.
piece. As we had one spinner apparently. Oh, dear me, that's looks like Jordan in
down.
there. Yep, Jordan in there. Polotzek
Quint's
as well,
down.
unfortunately. Quint as well. But we're just coming around the final few corners now, around turn 15 and turn 16. At the end of all that, it is a good first lap for David Frančić. He leads from Holm, Wilson, Capit, Lars Brugman, Paolini, Hoekstra, de Vries, Tula, Carson, Beresford.
Now, what makes me wonder is if Holm is going to be able to keep this pace up. As we've seen in the first race, he was struggling a lot a couple laps in with his pace.
Is worrying, of course. And I think maybe that's why he's so eager to get any sort of job which he needs to do done now. Remember, DRS not in effect until the next lap. Still, that's not going to stop Holm from picking up any sort of slipstream. Look at this really good closing ability on Frančić. Still not close enough and almost pushing Frančić around the hairpin. He was so close. Wilson holds on to P3. And everyone else really going status quo at the moment. Who's that going wide? That's Randu Muru going wide. He holds on to P14. And oh my word, that is a lot of cars coming out of the hairpin.
Also, we have Holm going side by side with Frančić. And,
He's still very close though.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of attempts, and Frančić is frantically trying to defend his position by going very defensive into
but
the
look at
Mercedes
Wilson
arena.
and Capit though. Wilson and Capit have really started to catch him. And look at Lars Brugman as well. I was saying, oh, what if this becomes the first time since Spain where he hasn't scored a win? He is right in this fight. Still only 2 seconds off the leaders at this stage.
We're just going to have to see. He is very, very quick, and it is still a long enough race. So if he can keep the tires going for long enough, and if everyone else in front of him starts to fade, or if he just has outright better pace, he could still very much win this.
Tom van der Voort racks up another retirement for the season. It goes from bad to worse, but now the DRS is in effect, and the only man not getting DRS out of this front 10 is David Frančić. We saw how close home got before. Can he get close this time? He closes, and he doesn't get close enough, though. In fact, he looks a lot less close than he was the lap before. But look at that. It's not just Brugman who's closed up onto the back of him now. It's Paulini and Hoekstra and De Vries and pretty much everyone down to Menno Klont. As here goes Adrian Holm then side by side with David Frančić. You got an excellent exit there, but into Mercedes. Frančić still able to hold on, defending masterfully at the moment.
That is very good driving. And look at Wilson. He's going to try to take Holm side by side into the next corner. No, he's backed out of it, but he may lose a spot thanks to that. No.
Here goes Risto Kapanen on the inside. He has to defend off Brugman. It's all very frantic stuff. And Frančić is possibly the biggest bottle cork I've seen all year. And that's not where David Frančić should be. But it's just the nature of this circuit. Oh, he runs wide there, David Frančić, as does Adrian Holm, though they both lose time. And God, where does this train end? Probably down in P11 with Menno Klont at this stage. Those top 11 within 4.5 seconds. So close. And I think it's only a matter of time, Kacper. Once again, DRS zone in full effect. Adrian Holmes had a very nice exit there out of turn 2. Very nice exit out of turn 3. Surely this is going to be a done deal down into turn 6.
It may as well be now. He has so much more straight line speed. So let's just see side by side. No, he's done it before the actual corner.
There was no way he was going to defend that, as Tobias Polotczek becomes our second retirement. So the two people who retired in race 1 do exactly the same thing in race 2. As Boya Milan's also retired. Yeah, that's a good spot there. So 3 people out already of this race. And now David Frančić under a lot of pressure from James Wilson, the Kayala driver, putting in a really good show for himself here. Battling as if he belongs on the podium.
Yeah, he is going very well so far. He may not be leading it like I predicted for a minute, but he's definitely fast and he's keeping up and he's still challenging, and he is a force to be reckoned with at the moment.
So Adrian Holm leads in. That is the only major switch of position in recent memories. Oh, that's Hinz! Or is that Hinz? I think it is Hinz. He's had a bit of a problem out of Sachs and he's fallen out of the points, unfortunately. Yeah, clouted another car. I'm not sure which one, but Marie through to P12, Moore through to 13th, Niels Brugman through to P14 from the back of the grid. Good drive from him so far. McGlade into P15. Back up to the front, though. Once again, DRS zone is going to be in full effect. Sorry for hitting my mic once again, sorry. But, well, DRS is well and truly open. What way is it going to end now? I wonder whether James Wilson fancies attacking David Frančić. He closes much like Holm was last lap, but he's not close enough. Once again, Holm holds on nicely. Everyone just filing in status quo. Everyone quite happy to just let themselves go along as it is.
This very much looks like calm before the storm, to be honest, because it looks like we're going to have something very interesting on our hands soon enough.
I was just going to say there's a clear divide between the top 11 and everyone else now. 3 seconds between Klont and Ruiz at this current stage.
That is an insanely small gap.
So we'll wait and see how things transpire, of course. It's only lap 5 of 22. So we're only really just under a quarter of this race done at the current stage. But look how many cars are within, sight of the lead even? And if any one of them is to make a mistake, it could collect any number of drivers. It could lead to losing all those positions and more so.
As Paulini goes a bit wide, and there's a bit of an intra-team battle, maybe? No.
Yes. Yeah, it's an intra-battle.
Yeah, no.
Intra-team battle. That's
yes. And no, but they just calmed down. They have spread out a bit. I think they're very sensible at the moment.
The two enterprises are actually battling amongst each other as well, I notice. As back up to the front. Let's see whether James Wilson can take David Frančić this time around. He seems to be closing at a faster rate, but I think Frančić, has had a very good exit out of turn 2, and indeed he has. As there goes the two Mazuriks, and I think Paulini's through, and Paulini almost loses it as well, and Sven de Vries is going to say, thank you very much, I'll take both of your positions. He takes Hoekstra But will he take Dino Paolini?
It's going to be
think he will.
It's going to be a tough challenge, but maybe.
Into Mercedes, he puts his car up there. Nothing doing, though. So it was actually a mistake. It was an overtake from Paolini, which put Hoekstra on the back foot, which meant that he lost the position. So naughty points for Dino Paolini.
Lars Brugman goes very squirrely. He actually nearly spun the car. That's a rare
That's a
sight.
good save. Good save as well, mind you.
Very good save, yeah.
And he hasn't lost much time to the leaders, which is doubly good. Adrian Holmes still hasn't pulled a second on David Frančić. I think you've hit the nail on the head once again, actually, Kacper. It is very much a calm before the storm sort of thing. You feel like something's going to lift off. You just don't know when.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those situations where people are just kind of starting to bunch up and you just know that something is about to happen.
Well, we're going into the major DRS zone. Once again, the Parabolica. Spelled with the K, not with the C. We're in Germany, of course. And I think Frančić is doing a very good job here. He's getting just the right exit, isn't he, off turn 2 and turn 3, so that he can defend off Wilson with DRS, mind you, into the hairpin. But plus, Frančić has actually got DRS, of his own to try and attack Holm. So obviously, Holm must have some super straight line speed on that ghost port of his.
Yeah, he is very quick at the moment. He's surprisingly keeping it up, unlike in the first race, which you could only hope that his tires are not going to die soon enough, as they may have last race.
We do have a lot of battling, actually, further down the order here. Niels Brugman's just gone past Randu Muru, and Lewis McGlade has followed suit, so Muru loses 2 positions on this lap. He's down to 15th, Niels Brugman up to 13th, McGlade up to 40th, but it's now a further 3 seconds up the road to Edgar Ruiz, who himself is actually closing on the massive train here, only 2 seconds away from Klont now. So everything started to Constantina up once again, as it's only 5/10 between Frančić and Holm. So the gap between those two closing. It's lap 8 of 22. Are Holm's tires really off this early? I'd be surprised if they were.
Oh. That Holm's tire? No, that just can't be. This is way too early.
Well, we'll see whether there's any further movement in terms of the pecking order going around the DRS zone once again, and the Parabolica heading towards the hairpin for the 8th time of asking. No movement from the top 6, it seems. And no movement from anyone below it either. It's all very, very boring at the moment. People are not willing to take risks. To be fair, I'd rather boring than people crashing into each other, that's for sure. But people are playing it safe, it seems.
Yeah, no, well, it's the shorter one of the races, but it seems like people really like to play it safe now.
Yeah.
It's kind of the reverse of what you'd think.
Yeah, it's like normally with the last race is hell for leather, and we usually do see that in Supercup, not like with bad standards or anything, but there's a lot of people vying for moves. It's just
Lars is actually
calm.
very close to Kacper at the moment, again.
He needs to get a move on, Lars, if he doesn't want to lose that winning streak. Although, to be fair, at this point in the championship, Lars is just quite happy to score points. I know he is. But for the sake of the statisticians out there, we want him to keep on winning those races.
Yeah, no, again, he's just moving away further and further from that 50% mark we were talking about beforehand.
I guess it's very hard thing to do, though. We've got to be fair.
It is. It's as you can see, this series is incredibly close, and all the drivers are very respectable and very, very quick.
I think we might see a move from Wilson, because Frančić is starting to fall off the back of Holm. I noticed he's almost opened up the gap, Holm, to a full second, and once he pulls outside of that second, Kacper, then all of a sudden that spells big problems with Frančić.
I think the DRS will be a big factor then, and he will be able to possibly take Frančić, as he is so very close now.
But let's keep in mind as well, Wilson's battling on the podium. It's not even like he's under pressure from Kacper or Brugman behind him. He is on the podium out of pure merit, battling away with P2 and pure pace. This is such an impressive debut.
It is very impressive, and as I've said, I would not be surprised to see him still win this race, if anything.
Right. Bad new Croatian / David Frančić fans. Adrian Holm has pulled out a gap of 1.1 seconds. David Frančić pulled it back ever so slightly to 9/10, but if he doesn't nail this first sector now, then he's going to be under a lot more pressure than before.
he made a mistake in the first corner. I think he's lost a lot of time to Wilson. Wilson's just on his back. If he has no DRS, he'll be in trouble.
There's no DRS
He has no
confirmed.
DRS.
No DRS. This could spell the end for Francic in P2. He's going to nibble on that slipstream that Holm is still giving him. But you can see how close Francic is getting now. He goes to the inside. He's going to force the issue, James Wilson. He dives to the inside. Contact between the two. He makes it, though.
James Wilson just executed that maneuver perfectly. It was a absolutely beautiful overtake.
And now Francic has got his own teammate to worry about. This could be worrying signs for the Croatian, or it might not be, because given that Kacper hasn't really shown much pace so far. That said, I'm guessing that Kacper would rather not want to see Lars Brugman so close behind him and may call upon David to be the rear gunner this time.
We're going to have to just wait and see. Kacper is doing a great job with defending that fourth place so far. So Lars seemingly just struggling a bit with trying to overtake.
Further down the order, by the way, Edgar Ruiz, who was in P12, has suffered the Niels Brugman-Lewis McGlade combo, much like Rando Muru a couple of laps ago. So Niels Brugman now up into P12, Lewis McGlade up into P13, with Ruiz down to 14th. Niels Brugman's 4 seconds off Menno Klont, 5 seconds off Menno Klont at this stage, I should say now. So there's a lot of work for these guys just outside the top 11 to try and reel the train back in. And it is still very much a long train, all very much separated by mere seconds at this stage.
This is interesting. James Wilson's last lap was actually his best lap thus far. Which means that he is actually starting to catch up to Adrian Holm.
And funnily enough, actually, he was outside of DRS range as well, and David Francic couldn't hold a candlelight to him.
Let's now see how he can manage it. It's still half of the race to go, and he's second and fighting for the win. Outright.
He's in with a chance to the win. I mean, especially considering Holm's tyre wear. But remember, he might be trying to control his tyres. Perhaps that's why he hasn't flown away as much as we expected. Although that said, he's gained a hell of a lot of time in Sector 2.
Yes, it was just 0.4 of a second outright in the middle sector. Possibly Wilson is just trying to defend a bit from Francic before he can properly get away.
Let's see then. Holm further cementing his chances for this race. He hasn't won a race since Russia Race 1, Adrian Holm. His campaign since then has been really, really tacky, really all over the place. And it looks to me like Wilson's going to be... Oh, actually, look at that. Wilson's pulled out 6 on David Francic. I think he's genuinely got the fastest setup. And the only thing that was protecting Francic was that DRS. Because we'll see again, look, he's going to be within DRS range again. 6/10 between Wilson and Francic. So DRS in effect now for David Francic, as it is with everyone else pretty much in that train. Look at that. He is unable to do anything, but I'm looking at Lars Brugman, and he is going to try and force the issue now. Lars Brugman on Risto Kacper into the hairpin. Oh, and
contact
between the two. Lars Brugman goes around. Oh, and for the second time in 2 rounds, contact between Lars Brugman and Risto Kacper leads to Kacper spinning. That said, that one looked more like Risto Kacper's fault than in Austria, where it did seem to be a lot more like it was Lars Brugman's fault. It's here. Oh, we've got another battle going on now. Wupke Hoekstra and Right Tulicus, and Right Tulicus was almost past Wupke Hoekstra. To no avail, though. But it seems like the calm has ended. The storm is incoming.
Indeed, and from what I'm seeing at the moment, by the way, for the lead, is that James Wilson is just a bit slower in the middle sector, while he's a bit faster in the first and the last sector than Adrian Holm. So it could be very interesting if he can get around to doing a bit better middle sectors. Because he is significantly faster in the last sector, like 0.2 faster.
Risto Kacper came back on the road in P11, by the way. Oh, when he clouted the first curb there, he's not going to be happy with himself, that's for sure. As we look to... Oh, look at Wilson still extending that gap. I'm worried for Francic here with Lars Brugman. He's now free of Risto Kacper. He's taken one street fighter the lap before. And look at that pace differential. He's going to take this one as well. Lars Brugman down the inside of David Francic, forcing the issue. Contact between the two. Francic left the room. They sort of tripped over each other as well, so they're only losing more time to James Wilson.
Lars couldn't put down the power down on the outside of the circuit, and he ran wide anyway, so that would have not been a clean overtake in any case.
So Frančić holds on for now. Behind, right, Tulikas has overtaken Wupke Hoekstra, although Wupke Hoekstra going around the outside of Mercedes. Oh, that's great traction from the Dutchman up the inside. Oh,
As Hoekstra goes around.
There was no way he was going to overtake there. Unfortunately, he's off the road as well. Where does he come back on? He's just trying to find some sort of grip. He comes on back in P14. That is a lot of time lost, but there was no way he was going to overtake there, unfortunately. So Tulikas up to 7th. Beresford up to 8th, Menno Klont up to 9th, and Risto Kacper back inside the top 10. That's an interesting four-way battle, which is sure to spark off as well. As let's see then, Lars Brugman.
Wilson lost half a second middle sector. He really needs to improve that one sector because all of the other sectors he's always faster than Adrian Holm.
Look at this. Oh, look at Frančić. Look how much he's struggling. He's just messed up turn 2 royally there. Lars Brugman with a much better exit. And I'm not just worried about P3 for Dave Frančić. I'm worried about P4 as well. Sven de Vries right there with him.
Lars
Brugman down the inside. He's already passed him a parabolic. And now we've got Sven de Vries to worry about as well. Will it be two places in one? Oh, no. Contact between the two, I think. I think Lars Brugman just about saving it. Sven de Vries is through. David Frančić down to P5. And now under pressure from Dino Paolini as well.
Now, will Brugman have any damage from that? I hope not.
Let's see, how far off Wilson is he? He's about 2 seconds off Wilson at this point.
He is, yes, 2.1 seconds last time I've seen.
Yeah, so he's going to have to put a bit of a shift in. Even if he has suspension damage or not, he needs to put a shift in ASAP. So then,
well, this is getting exciting.
it's building up, isn't it? Adrian Holm's just coming around the final corner now. He'll be heading onto lap 15 of 22. He leads James Wilson by 1.8 seconds. So in a bit of a controlling stage of this race now, Adrian Holm. I wonder whether he can keep his tyres until the end. Lars Brugman free of everyone ahead of him. P3 is Risto Kacper. It's out! Risto Kacper is out. And what happened there?
I think just a straight disconnect. Oh no, he crashed in the last corner.
He spun. Risto Kacper out of this race. His last race of the year. Out with suspension damage. Very interesting stuff there. So Lars Brugman then P3. He's free of any sort of pressure ahead of him, but he's got Sven de Vries still behind him. De Vries in P4. Frančić P5. Paolini P6. We then got the two Enterprises P7 and 8. Klont P9. Niels Brugman now up into the top 10 from the back of the grid, may I remind you. Great drive so far from Niels. McGlade 11th, Ruiz 12th, Hoekstra 13th, Mura 14th, Hinz back into the point in P15. It's really heating up.
It really is, and it just seems like so many drivers are having so many drivers from the back just are seemingly having very good race so far, and we're just going to have to wait and see since we're only 64% complete of the race. Jeez, there's still quite a bit to go.
Holm still extending his gap, and let's see what it is at the end of this one. It was 1.8 seconds. It's actually 1.6 seconds. So James Wilson having a great third sector there. I'm worried for James Wilson though. I mean, look at the gap between the lead and Lars Brugman. It's down to 2.6 seconds. The Dutchman is flying. Can he get past Wilson in time? Can he get past Holm in time, though, to take that elusive win? And can he hold off Sven de Vries as well? The American holding on steadfast.
We just have to, again, it's a massive battle that we don't know who's going to win yet. It's 3 seconds we do the top 4. It's very, very close.
Also, has been an overtake, sorry. Paolini. Paolini on Frančić. And that was far too easy for the German. Frančić outside of the top 5 now. I tend to agree with you. There's something off about that Street Fighter setup today because it's not been anywhere near as good as we're used to seeing it.
Yeah, you could see it in both of the drivers being somewhat slower than it should be in qualifying.
Sorry, as Tulikas has been off the road of Mercedes as well, so his teammate Scott Beresford through to P7, and now Tulikas under a lot of pressure here from Menno Klont, the man who was on the podium in race 1, really struggling here today, actually. It must be the dirty air, I'm guessing.
Possibly. It's, again, there's a lot of very quick corners, and in here, like turn 1 especially, that you will feel that kind of dirty air so much.
And of course, there's still the thing about tyre wear. I mean, Scott Beresford was the last pitter out of everyone, so if anyone's going to have the best tyre wear, you'd imagine it'd probably be him.
Definitely. And what I'm worried about at the moment is perhaps Holm was pushing a bit too hard recently, and he may be starting to kill his tires now. He was doing laps very close to his best lap of the entire race.
Here comes Brugman. No, I think Wilson's going to be demoted to third very shortly. And before they've even hit the hairpin, Lars Brugman is ahead. And all of a sudden, Lars Brugman looks like he could absolutely win this race.
How does one do that from 8th place? It's mind-boggling.
Because Lars. There's no other description for it. James Wilson messes up that corner a little bit. Oh, that was close between the two of them. I don't think James Wilson's going to be holding on to see a podium out to the end, unfortunately.
No, it doesn't look like it. Sven de Vries is just so fast, as we've seen in the first race, and can control his pace so well. So I think he can very much overtake Wilson, even in the next DRS zone, possibly.
We're going to be heading on to lap 18.22. So we are going to have 5 laps remaining of this race. There's plenty of time for de Vries to do it. But then again, time keeps on ticking on in Supercup. It's a consistent theme this year. As it looks like Tudorcus has re-overtaken Beresford. So maybe a bit of team stuff going on there. Klump P9, Lewis Brugman 10th, McGlade P11, Reith 12th, Randumu back into 13th, past Rookie Hoscher 14th, Thomas Hinstill 15th. To remind you of your retirement so far, Risto Capit, Tobias Polotzek, Boyer Milan, and Tom van der Voort, the unlucky foursome, who have left us earlier than their times, of course. 1.2 seconds between Holm and Brugman. That's pretty damning as Sven de Vries there. You absolutely called it, Kacper. Onto the podium for the American, and James Wilson, his stoic defense comes to an end.
Either way, I mean, to see someone like basically making their debut in a series like this and holding their own close to the podium is still quite an amazing feat, to say the very least.
For sure. Like, it's incredible to see what's been going on with James Wilson. Now, I'm excited to see more as he develops throughout the campaign. I'm very excited to see more.
I only just realized that last lap, Lars Brugman made the fastest lap, did the fastest lap of anyone. And he was a second faster than Adrian Holm. I wonder how fast he's going to be this lap, but I don't think nearly as quick.
Let's see, what's the gap as they cross the line? It's got to be less than a second, surely. Yep, 9/10 as I noticed Menno Klont there. Oh, Scott Beres has been round again, and you'll never guess where. Mobile 1. I mean, he made that great move, didn't he? But he's been making mistakes there constantly since then. And Menno Klont there capitalizing up into P8 for the
Hasi makes a mistake again, and Brugman is on his tail already.
Yeah, I'm looking up at Lars Brugman as well to see whether he's closing in on home. I don't think he's going to be able to overtake this time, but oh my word, look how close Niels Brugman is.
Niels does have it. There's no way he won't overtake on DRS.
Beresford is struggling. He's really struggling, and he's lost the position already.
That's very disappointing, considering how well he managed his tires in the first race.
Oh, for sure. It's bizarre, isn't it? But racing is racing, and you've got to stay focused 100% of the time. Scott Beresford down to P10 from P8 then. Still holding on to Niels Brugman, don't get us wrong. And if he does still have that latent pace, and if he still does have that tyre wear in him, then no reason to say that he can't come back. But, well, it seems like the win is folding into Lars Brugman's lap at the moment. He's now within 0.5 of Adrian Holm. It's looking pretty damning for the Swede, unfortunately, but we've got to give it everything to Holm so far. He's had a great race.
Definitely. Oh, my. This is going to be a very, very interesting battle. I think it's going to be one of those DRS overtakes for the lead. And luckily, this seems to be the very much preferred way on the circuit. So we're just going to have to wait and see now.
Here we go then. Back straight, 0.4 between the two of them. DRS open for Lars Brugman for the lead of the race. He closes. Holm showing some good straight line speed, though. Showing some very good straight line speed. And you know what?
Very good.
He's been able to hold on.
Although, what I kind of find it interesting in these cars is that while you say DRS is open, what happens is you actually close a little slit rather than open it in the wing to stall the wing. It's quite an interesting little system.
I think we've covered it plenty of times, so just say DRS is open out of habit now.
Yes.
The DRS is pressed, we'll say instead. But I think that's very good signs for Adrian Holm. If 4/10, or it was near 5/10 actually, Lars makes a little mistake there through Mobile 1. If 5/10 wasn't enough of a gap to overtake Adrian, then he's going to have to be right on his rear bumper going into the Parabolica.
As Fuller gets out of the way very nicely for being lapped.
And that's good back marking. And actually, mind you, Lars has got to be careful because here comes Sven de Vries as well. Not only is time running out, but he's got his main championship rival now right behind him.
Are you going to have de Vries take second place? It's very possible.
It would be a mighty result for de Vries if he could outscore Lars in both of the races. Let's see, going then into turn 2 once again. I don't think Lars is going to be close enough. If 5/10 wasn't close enough, then surely 8/10, yeah. So I think we can look away from this one because he's simply not got it. Adrian Holm, maybe that's the cause of his worst tyre wear. He's gone for a low downforce setup, which burns up the tyres more.
Yeah, that must be it. As I was looking back, I've seen Lewis McGlade trying to make a move out in Beresford, but nearly going to the back of Beresford, actually. Quite a bit of a scare moment.
He's fallen right off, hasn't he?
Yeah, it's very, very sad to see someone who, again, did so well in the first race.
That was Ruiz having a bit of a weird moment, and I think Niels Brogman's actually looking to tackle his compatriot Menoclont further up the road as well. There's a couple of battles still to work themselves out, no less the lead, but here is the big problem now, Kacper. We're heading on to the final lap.
Oh, this is gonna be a tough challenge, but we're seeing how close they are. This is basically anything is open for the podium positions. We know that the 3 are very likely to finish on the podium, but what order, we have no idea.
3/10 between Brogman and Holm. He needs to nail turn 2 and turn 3 now. Oh, that's looking very good for Lars Brogman. That's looking incredibly good for Lars Brogman as they cross the first sector split. 2.5/10. If this doesn't get Adrian Holm, I don't know what will. DRS in effect. And he's going around the outside, Lars Brogman. He's round the outside.
He's got it.
Into the hairpin we go, sorry. Lars Brogman takes the lead of the race. Although, Adrian Holm almost got it back.
I've had a lot of lag right there. And
there was a lot of lag.
Yeah. I've just barely seen Brugman moving past. Holm is trying to take him into the Mercedes arena. Oh! As contact.
Oh, is Holm going to go around the outside? No, forced out by Lars Brogman.
As de Vries gets second.
Oh my word, de Vries is now going to force his way up the inside of Mobile 1. Is he? Yes, he is. That's great driving from de Vries. Really opportunistic. Adrian Holm. His lead charge comes to an end. And now we look to Lars Brogman. Can he hold on until the end? I think we all know the answer at this point, don't we?
It's very likely.
It remains the only round he has not taken a win in is Spain. Lars Brogman, our championship leader, wins race 2 at Hockenheim, equaling out Sven de Vries' race 1 win. He comes home P2 though. The field, those two today. Holm P3, Wilson, an incredibly impressive P4, Paulini 5th, Francis 6th, Tulakar 7th, Menoclont holds on for 8th, Niels Brogman 9th, Scott Beresford did hold on to P10 in the end there, McGlade 11th, Muru 12th, Hoekstra 13th, Hinz 14th, and Edgar Ruiz takes the final point of the day. Your retirements from this race, Bristow Capit, Tobias Polotzek, Boya Milan, and Tom van der Voort.
Well, any ideas on who was your man of the race basing?
2 drivers got a first, second today. So out of the entire round, Lars Brogman and Sven de Vries share it. In terms of who was my driver of the race, undoubtedly James Wilson. Possibly driver of the day in general as well. To come in and make such a lasting impression is very hard to come by, especially with no reputation preceding you. I think we've got a little star in our hands. He's
absolutely fantastic. My driver of the race is going to be Niels Brogman. He has come from so far back and come into the top 10. That's very impressive. But driver of the day, undoubtedly James Wilson. It was to get 2 such high ranking positions is quite a feat.
That was quite a lovely event, wasn't it? It was a bit manic at times, but we've seen new point scorers, we've seen a new pole position person, we've seen pole taker, not pole position person. Let's use your right words, James, once again. And we've seen the two championship favourites now really strangling the rest of the field. 1-2 and 2-1 for Sven de Vries and Lars Brugman. They were the class of the field today.
The only thing that saddens me right now is that we're back to over 100 points difference.
Yeah. Well, I think it does show at least that there is someone there ready to take the fight to Brugman, but is it all a little too late? I'm fearing.
At this rate, it's unluckily, I think that's the case. But you can never say never, and let's hope for the Vries to have a bit of a challenge for the rest of the season.
There are still plenty of rounds left, don't forget, and next race is a completely different prospect to Hungary. I think the tyres are going to be screaming out a bit more as well, though we're heading off to in 2 weeks' time to the Hungaroring, which is not one of my favourite circuits, and it's not one where you usually see many overtake, but there are a lot of people who seem to like that circuit and who can seem to extract a little bit extra out of the car. So then we're just going to have a couple of interviews. If not, then just one. We know that we have... Oh, there we go. We are going to have a couple. Brilliant. So as soon as my TeamSpeak starts working, I will drag them in for you.
Well, I can drag... Oh, there we go.
We got it sorted in the end. Right, so let's have a little chat then. Let's go with our race one winner first, Sven de Vries. Overall, that could not have gone much better. A first and a second. You didn't even start on the front row in race one, of course. Ultimately, though, this man who's also in the commentary booth with us, completely cancelling out any sort of advantage you gained in race one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but that's what we battle for. I'm happy when we finish 1-2. We train hard. We battle hard. Race one, there wasn't a lot of battles between us. Thankfully, this case, I was able to grab the lead quite quickly and did the same as in Austria. I just managed to gap counter Lars when needed. The car felt really good, so I was able to. And then just calculate what kind of lap times I needed to run and keep an eye on what Lars was doing. And then race two, I quickly noticed the dirty air was making it very difficult to overtake anyone. Everybody was having a DRS, so it was nearly impossible. So I figured, just stay calm, sit back, and wait for small mistakes of other drivers and immediately counter on that. And that turned out to work pretty well. Yeah.
We got Hungaroring next. And over the years, Hungaroring has been both a track which has given you good fortune and a track which has seen heartbreak. In our Factor 2, where tyre management is so much more crucial now than ever before, do you think that the satellite team has got the right setup to deal with the situation? Do you think you as a driver will suit Hungaroring even more, even less now?
I'm not sure. I'm not a huge fan of Hungaroring, so we'll see. Obviously we're going to be fighting for the win again, and we'll see what happens.
Well done on your race win and extra podium anyway, Sven. That's 3 wins now on the bounce in 3 different rounds, so it's all good. On a good bit of form, but perhaps not as good form as the man who took the race 2 win, Lars Brugman. Now, a bit of an interesting event today, Lars. You were starting on the front row, didn't end up taking the win. Sven came from behind, of course. And yet there you were, stuck in the midfield in race 2. And yet somehow everything just seemed to go your way. All the overtakes came off. People fell off the road, of course. The battle started to split up. Is it a mixture of luck and talent at this point? Or do you just think it's knowing where you are and knowing your limits and not pushing too far?
I don't know, really. I don't know. I just try to not take too many risks. But if I see a gap, then you kind of have to go for it, because with the dirty air, it's really, really difficult to keep close.
But when you did get close, you seemed to have the right DRS setting to be able to get past everyone. Did you actually see a lot of overtakes into the hairpin today? Do you think that the DRS was a bit too powerful, or do you think, considering how little overtaking there was going over the rest of the circuit, it was actually quite a good thing?
No, I think this was realistically your only opportunity. Unless you got a really good exit from the hairpin, you could maybe get a few overtakes done there, but it's still quite difficult.
moving into Hungaroring. I remember actually last year you raced for Storm Racing at the Hungaroring, and you ended up taking a podium. So we definitely know that you got good pace there. Is the idea just to try and keep on taking those wins at every round to try and keep ahead of this rowdy American behind you?
Yeah, that's the goal, I guess. Just keep practicing away and try to get the wins. I just want to say something. I want to apologize if anyone had problems with lag with me. I wasn't noticing it myself, but I just got some messages that I was indeed having high ping. So if anyone had any was affected by that, I want to say sorry for that. Because I don't know what caused it, but yeah.
From what I've seen, I've only seen it really once or twice, and especially in the second race. So I don't think it was too much of an issue. I hope.
Either way, it's still a very gracious thing to come out and say. Of course, hopefully people will see that side of it. In any case, a win, the second, equaling Sven de Vries. So couldn't have gone much better, I'd say. Well done on your results, Lars. And then we come along to Adrian Holm. Now, you had quite the little rocket start in race one, taking the lead and everything after 6 corners. But what on earth happened after that? It just seemed like mistakes creeped out of everywhere.
I'll tell you what didn't happen. It was practice. I just like massive amounts of practice. So yeah, I did my practice in race 1, and in race 2 I stayed on track. So yeah.
That would make a lot of sense. And you were so close to taking that first race win since Russia as well. But was it just the tire wear too much at the end?
Yeah, I struggled a bit with the left front and the last couple of laps, because I try to take care of them for the majority of the race. But yeah, last couple of laps went away, and yeah, obviously Lars hit me there in the hairpin on the last lap. Unfortunately, that was one of those moments where he completely disappeared going into the braking zone. So I just tried to stay on the outside, but then yeah, luckily we didn't touch, so we both stayed on track, which is the main point there.
And of course, this is actually your first podium since that race win in Russia, race 1. You seem to have had a real patchy spot after, well, you'd say after your comeback, probably. Or actually, let's say from Monaco. I mean, you've had retirement 6th in Turkey, 15th, 10th in Monaco. It's been all over the place. Do you think that today shows that you still do have the pace to reach those podium results, and that you can maybe get a bit of form back into the system?
Yeah, I think I've always had the speed, because obviously I have some pretty decent setups, especially in qualifying. But yeah, not doing enough practice just kills your consistency and tire management. So I think that's where I've probably had my most issues. But yeah, just the amount of practice went way down after Russia and Monaco. Monaco was a bit bad luck with the high ping and then recovery in race 2. But yeah, since after Monaco, it's been not much practicing going on.
Well, we'll see maybe if you do get a bit of practice in for Hungary, just how high you can go. It should be a very, very interesting state of affairs. And before I do close off, Sven de Vries has messaged me saying that he wants to say something, as he sometimes does, of course.
Thanks. I think everybody knows that this was your last race for this year. You were gonna do commentary on for the Supercup broadcast. So yeah. I just wanted to say thank you. I think I speak on behalf of everyone and the awesome broadcast you delivered. Your commentary is always on point. It's awesome, and it's great to listen to. So it will definitely be missed, and hopefully we'll see you back in the future.
That's very kind of you to say, Sven. Thank you.
And I may just add to that, it was a pleasure working with you today.
Pleasure working with you as well, Kacper. And actually, massive thank you to Rob Mason as well. The fact that he's coming with 45 minutes to go and done a whole camera broadcast thing. He had to restart multiple times as well.
Thank you a lot.
What I do doesn't happen without a co-commentator to bounce off, because otherwise my voice would die, and also the camera's most crucial. They're the ones that run the entire show. So please, if anyone's going to show big praise, send it over to Rob Mason, because he's the one who's made this broadcast happen today. But yeah, thank you so much, Sven, and thank you to everyone who's saying nice words and everything. I hope to be back in the future. Fingers crossed. But yes, we'll wait and see. On that note then, I think we should look to wrap up. Remember, tomorrow, hopefully, you should be able to watch the German Grand Prix. Should be plenty of battling there as well. Hopefully, it was as good as today with how all the close racing and everything. I believe, is there WSS next week on Wednesday? I think there is, yeah. And that would be from Belgium. That's going to be a very interesting one. No Kevin Siggy or Risto Capit. Stay tuned for that one. We could have some new race winners. And then, of course, in 2 weeks' time, Career Ladder is back. Open Series and Formula Challenge on the Tuesday. And whoever it is with Supercup on the Wednesday at the Hungaroring, it's sure to be a cracker, as it always is. Again, big thanks to Rob Mason, the cameraman. Big thanks to Kacper, Koloziejczyk. Again, butchering his name, but both of them have stepped in the last 45 minutes. So thank you so much for taking care. For the last time this year, probably, I've been James Kirk. And from all of us here, it is a very warm goodbye.